Shalom Yahweh Hashem Yahshai Barakatah to all the brothers. Yahweh Shemar Alafah Hashem Yahshai to all the sisters. This is the I.S.U.P.K history class Monday night. Salakia, we are starting a little late, but we do got a good one for you tonight, right? So tonight we're going to be talking about we could see all the how East India and Asia is getting hit hard again with these variants of plague, right? So we're going to be talking about the history of East Indian oppression in the Caribbean islands, right? And it only makes sense that the East Indians are getting hit with these plagues, right? East Asians are getting hit with these plagues for all the crimes that they committed against blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? So we're gonna be going into it. We're gonna be talking about, like, if you're Caribbean, you're familiar with a word coolie, right? Coolie is basically someone of East Indian descent, right? In Jamaica, the black people will, because we've been beaten down and made to hate ourselves, we will say stuff like, "We got good hair, you have coolie hair," right? Not knowing that that is not good hair. That is not the hair that the Lord had, right? The Lord did not have coolie hair. The Lord, Yahushai, he had our Lord Yahushai, right? Our King, he had the hair of a black man, right? Now this is not the Christian church. We don't teach that Yahushua is God. We understand that there's a difference. Yahushua is not God. He's not Yahweh, right? He's the son of the Father, but he's not there's no, like, the Christian church likes to talk about, like, the Holy Trinity, how the Spirit, the Son, and the Father are one. But that would not make sense, because how could a father and a son be one? But what does happen is, in the metaphorical term that Christ the Father are one, is because Christ, he followed our God, right? He followed the Lord, right? And when you follow the Lord, you become one with him, right? So we're going to be going into the history of what was happening on these Caribbean islands, right? So first we're gonna get the definition for coolie, right? So let me get that screen share popping. We're gonna get the screen share popping, and we're gonna basically break down what's happening. Before we continue, if you're watching, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that link to get the Hebrew benefits, right? If you're trying to earn yourself a soldier in the Lord's army, right? You're trying to be in the school, as well as sisters, hit the sign in link and sign in. Let us know you're tuning in so we can count you, right? And we can mark you as one of us, right? So I think I'm breaking up at the moment. Bear with us. Wait, let me get that screen share though. Slovakia, is it working now? Yeah, this internet is going in. Slovakia, hold up. Let me get right. The internet is freezing. I'm gonna have to come off the Wi-Fi for a second and plug directly into the LAN. So, bear with me a moment. Oh, sure. All right, hopefully that should work out a little better. Off. All right, so we should be back to normal now. We should be back to normal now, right? They have the other ways to spell it. Is a low wage laborer, typically of Asian descent. The term is considered outdated and offensive, right? The word coolie was first popularized in the 16th century by European traders across Asia. By the 18th century, by the 18th century, would refer to migrant Indian or Chinese laborers, and by the 19th century would gain a new definition of systematic hiring of Asian workers under contract on positions that had been formerly worked by enslaved Africans. Right? So the Israelites were enslaved throughout the Caribbean, and as slavery was ending, right, you were not allowed to the Europeans or were not allowed to enslave Israelites anymore, right? They couldn't get free labor out of Israel anymore. So what they started doing is, and this is how you basically know your oppressor. He's a devil, right? Your oppressor is surely the devil, and if not, who is he, right? They enslaved us. They basically forced us to throughout the Caribbean and do any type of servile work, right? So we would do the servile work within the Caribbean, and what would happen is, like, eventually slavery would come to an end, right? We became really good at this type of work, and we knew how to till the land and farm the land, right? So while we would till the land and farm the land, we became really good at it. Slavery ends, and now they have to pay that work, right? But they didn't want. So what they decided to do was, instead of paying us, they would go all the way to East India and get workers and pay. Nurses hated us so much that they couldn't bring it to themselves to even pay us for the work they knew we would be good at, right? In the world, nobody hires someone that's not good at a job, right? But because our oppressors hate us so much, they went and hired East Indian at low wages, right, to do the same work we were doing, right? And over time, these East Indians they would basically become business owners in the land and the politicians, and they would buy up all the land, and they would learn to oppress the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans in those islands. Right, so let's get back to some more of it. So, computer keeps typing really hard right now. right? So we don't need this anymore. Whenever a black man decides to talk about his enslavement and the wrongs and how he was treated, you'll always hear someone say, well, the East Indians, they were slaves too. The Irish, they were slaves too, right? They weren't enslaved, right? They were indentured workers. They did not go through slavery. They didn't have their backs whipped. They didn't have their stomachs cut open. Um, they weren't buck broken, right? Their men weren't raped by the devils, right? They weren't taken away from their family. East Indians still have their heritage, still have their gods, right? The Black Hispanic man and Native American are gods, right? Outside of the ISUPK, we know now, but outside of the ISUPK, you worship whatever your oppressor tells you to worship. You have black men who think they're Christians and think that Christ loves everybody. They think that God loves everybody. They also think that Christ is a white boy, right? They think that Caesar Borgia is Christ. Well, that's definitely not true. So yeah, I gotta get rid of. Okay, it seems like we're a little bit better now. Seems like we're a little bit better now. All right, we're gonna go into a little more of the history uh, of the slavery and how East Indians weren't slaves in the Caribbean, right? They weren't slaves like the black man was in the Caribbean. And the black man in the Caribbean, he had to go through a harsh slavery, right? A harsh slavery in the Caribbean. The East Indian man did not go through that. They were paid, right? If you get paid, you're not a slave in the sense of what slavery was for black people in the Caribbean, right? So we're gonna get some of that, but first we gotta break down they call them Indo-Caribbeans, Caribbeans, right? Which it makes no sense. They're basically telling people that you're Caribbean and you're right. They're not Caribbean and Indian. They're just East Indians who live in Caribbean islands, right? And they oppress the hell out of blacks in the Caribbean. Like usually, the stories that come out of Trinidad, right? The stories that come out of Trinidad, you'll hear police going and walking up on black men who have to be Rastafarians, right? They think that they have to have dreads and keep the East Indian culture, right? Dreads is East Indian culture. The same East Indians in Trinidad, they become the police officers and the politicians. They see these black men walking around with dreads that come from India. They beat them in the head with their nightsticks to the point where their heads are cracked open. And to stitch up a man's head, you have to cut off the dreads, right? And that's what they want. They want the black man to cut off the dreads, right? Well, black man, dreads aren't your culture, right? And you should cut off those dreads, but it shouldn't take an East Indian beating you in the head with a nightstick or a billy bat or the butt of a gun for you to realize that culture, right? You should just crack open the Bible, right? Now, the Christians that Salakia that had locks, right? But that's not true. Samson, he didn't have dreads. Salakia. The Christian church is going to teach you that Samson had dreads, but he didn't have dreads, right? Locks, are basically, it's like a lock. It opens and it closes. They're braids. Like if you want to see locks today, it's braids with clamps. You can open and close them. Right. So Samson had 7 braids. He didn't have dreads. So Mafia, let me get that screenshot one more time. See if I can get locks of the Zonderbands, Victoria Bible Dictionary. One second. Let's get that screen time. We got that screen share a couple more times. I got a couple different things that I'm bear with us for a second. Our process internet, it's very finicky when it wants it to be. Sometimes it works really well, sometimes it just does whatever the hell it wants to do. Especially when it comes to bringing out this truth. If we were making a song about selling dope or our sisters being whores, this internet would be working at full capacity. There would be no lag behind it. Because we're teaching the Black, Hispanic, and Native American man their history, you get the results that you got right now. Okay. Indo-Caribbeans or Indian Caribbeans are Indian people who are descendants of Jahaji Indian, indentured workers, right? So we're gonna have to get that definition for an indentured worker, right? The indenture system was a system of indentured servitude by which more than 1 million Indians were transported to labor in European colonies, right? The European colonies basically what happened. The Europeans, those devils, they got into ships, they sailed around the world, they raped, robbed, pillaged, and murdered to set up colonies, right? And if you didn't fall in line, you would be raped, robbed, and murdered, right? As a substitute for slave labor, right? So there you have it again. Instead of paying the slaves, instead of that were already in the island, right? They decided to go all the way to East India and Asia, get workers, right? Give them contracts and tell them, we're going to pay you next to nothing, but we're going to pay you to go into these Caribbean islands and be the overseers and be the workers, right? It's an 18-hour flight from India to Jamaica or to the Caribbean islands. Now, just imagine how long it was on those boats, right? And how much money you spent trying to get a boat full of East Indians and Asians to the Caribbean islands, right? They would spend all that money instead of paying the blacks and the Indians and the so-called Hispanics that were on the islands to to do the work. right? So let's get some more into it. Right. So indentured workers and the French during colonial times from the mid 19th century who lived in the Caribbean and or other South Asian periods as shopkeepers and businessmen. So this is what basically happened, right? They brought in these workers to work, and they became the shop owners and the businessmen. They're the ones who own the property in these Caribbean islands now, right? Some of the biggest companies for selling goods in the Caribbean to Black people are owned by either Asians, either East Asians, as in Moab and Ammon, right? The Chinese and the Japanese, more of the Chinese in Jamaica, or they're the East Indians, right? They're basically Slovakia, the Japanese. Slovakia, the Japanese. Slovakia. I'm gonna figure that out for you and bring that out for you eventually, right? But nevertheless, East Indians and Asians own majority of the properties in Jamaica right now and the businesses. So let me get to
Salakia, sir.
Con.
Is this did this take? Are you saying this took place in? Were you saying all the islands or just some of the islands?
Majority of the islands, majority of the Caribbean islands. When you go to majority of the Caribbean islands, you will see East Indians or Asians, right? The islands that it affects the most at the moment is Trinidad and Jamaica,
Con,
right? Like the whole system of Trinidad is ran by East Indians, right? When you go to Jamaica, it's you see the East Indians, but you see majority of it Chinese, right? There's a whole highway in Jamaica that was basically built by the Chinese. The Chinese bought the highway, they bought the land, and they built the highway, right? And in doing that, they got to own a large portion of land in Jamaica and many businesses, right? And they made money off of it because they would import their workers, right? Till this day, right? Construction that the Chinese are doing in Jamaica, they're not hiring Jamaicans to do the important job, or are they teaching them to do the important jobs, right? There was a documentary I watched the other day where they were talking about the labor some of the Jamaican men are doing, and they showed a Chinese man. He was in full safety gear, while the Jamaicans, they didn't have hard hats and they had T-shirts over their face to protect them from dust.
right.
But I was just looking for something real quick. I might have to get back to it. Where was it? It was, right, we'll read some of this for a second. Okay, sugarcane plantations in the 19th century. Much like cotton, sugarcane plantations motivated large scale near enslavement and forced migrations, right? Following the emancipation of slaves in the 1833 in the United Kingdom, many liberated Africans, right, or Israelites left their former masters. This created an economic chaos for British owners of sugarcane plantations in the Caribbean region and elsewhere. The hard work and high human farms required regular, docile, and low wage labor force, right? British, the British looked for cheap labor since slavery had been abolished. The British crafted a new legal system of forced labor, which in many ways resembled enslavement, right? So resembling enslavement is not enslavement, right? What they're not telling you is these Indians, they still got paid. It was low wage, but they still got paid, right? At that time, British had a contract with the Indians, with the East Indians, because East India was a colony of Britain, right? So you would have East Indians who would go work for 10 years or 5 years there and pay off debts. Since slavery had been abolished, we read that instead of calling them slaves, they were called indentured laborers. Under this indentured labor scheme, Indians primarily began to replace enslaved Africans on sugarcane plantations, right? So you're seeing they would not even pay the they would rather go to East India and pay the East Indians than to pay the blacks who are on the islands already. Right? I'm gonna get rid of this very quick. There's another one. Alright, so we'll share this for a second. I have a few more things we're gonna share more into the scripts that we have, the scriptures. So yeah, bear with me one moment. I gotta fix this Wi-Fi. It's really acting really bad right now.
Come on, Priest. You kind of lagging on my part as well.
Come on, sir. I see it. I'm trying to fix it. It's making my computer freeze. I can't even pull up the things I want to pull up at the moment.
The oppressor is the damn devil the Bible speak of.
Right, right, sir. That's definitely true. So a lot of times, like these indentured servants, they would come over a certain type of debts, right, to work and making a wage. Now they weren't making a high wage, but they were still getting paid. This is nothing like slavery, right? They got to eventually take over and run the businesses, right? Whereas as in slavery, you didn't get to keep your culture. Your culture was beaten out of you, right? The only thing that the East Indians gave the Caribbean islands outside of the oppression that they're doing right now is dreads and weed smoke, right? You'll see, and he doesn't even know where this weed comes from, right? Okay, let me turn this Wi-Fi on. All right, got the Wi-Fi turned off. Wi-Fi should be good. All right. So now we got slavery in the Caribbean, right? Slavery in the British and French Caribbean refers to slavery in parts of the Caribbean dominated by French or the British Empire. In the Caribbean, England colonized the islands of St. Kitts, Barbados in 1623, and in 1627, respectively, and later Jamaica in 1655. These and other Caribbean colonies later became the center of wealth and the focus of the slave trade for the growing British Empire. Right? So the British Empire made wealth off the slave trade in the Caribbean islands, wealth that they still have today. That's why when you see when they painted Prince, Prince, that Prince that died, that old corpse that died just a while ago, right? He looked like he died like 20 years ago, right? They made him seem like he was such a wonderful person, right? When he's living and riding around in Rolls Royces and living in a mansion, in a castle, a palace based off slavery, right? That palace was built off slavery, right? Originally, white European indentured servants worked alongside enslaved Africans, right? Again, when it says African, black man, you are not African, you are the Israelites, right? Deuteronomy 28:68 tells you that you'll go into Egypt again on a ship, Egypt being a house of bondage, right? You have to ask yourself, how did you get to Jamaica? You were bondage and bonded and sent on ships to Jamaica, to Haiti, to all of these islands, right? In the New World, the Americas. At this time, there were not widespread theories or race or racism that would cause different treatment for white indentures and servants and African enslaved people, right? But that you can see it right here that their idea of slavery and indentured servant are they think it's one and the same. It's not. It just in the reading of the word, right? A white indentured servant and an enslaved people, right? Like if you're enslaved, you don't have rights, right? As an indentured servant, you work that debt until it's done, and then now you get to go do what you want. Your debt is paid, right? As of 1773, the French were trafficking approximately 13,000 African people for enslavement to the French West Indies. So, to the French West Indies each year, right? 13,000 people each year. While slavery had been active in French colonies since the early 16th century, it was theoretically not legitimized by the French government until the Revolutionary Convention in 1794. The French slave trade functioned along a triangular route, where ships would travel from France to colonize African countries and then to the Caribbean. The triangular setup was intentional, as France aimed to bring the African laborers to the New World, wherein the labor was of higher value because of the natural and cheap resources cultivated from the land. So we're gonna leave that right there. I'm gonna look for something else, right? Officer Shaiwan, can you bring me to Deuteronomy 28:1, Baba Kashan?
Come on, come. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to
Right? If
observe
you
and
listen, hold it right there. Salakia. If you listen to the voice of God, you have to listen well, right? Because if you don't listen, you're going to go through something, right? You have to listen. The Lord is your Father. Read.
to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day,
Read.
that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
Right. So when you listen to Salakia, you listen to the Lord, you're gonna be high above all the nations of the earth. Right? Not listening to the Lord, you're gonna have coolies over you. You're gonna have these people over you that aren't they're not they're not what the Lord wanted you to. They didn't. The Lord didn't want you to be under a people who worship a cow, right? These are people who worship the creation and not the Creator, right? The Lord did not want you to be under them, right? They were bringing it out the other day. The men above us were bringing out the other day how these same East Indians, right? These same low wage workers, the coolies, right? They bathed in cow manure, and they had cow manure fights, right? Now, is that a people that you want over you, right? And then you have to ask yourself, how do you get them from over you? 1 second. Drop that. Bring me to da, 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 da. Bring me to 15, Baba Kashab.
Come on, come. Verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Right. So you're gonna go through curses, right? That the East Indians being over you, that's a curse, right? That is definitely a curse in the Bible, right? These are the curses that would be over you, right? And you going into slavery, that's also a curse, right? So we're gonna drop that for a moment. So okay, we're gonna drop that for a moment. I'm gonna see if I can get something. All right, so I got this. This is what I wanted, right? Because they're gonna turn around and say that slavery in the Caribbean and indentured servants is the same thing, but it's not the same thing, right? So we're gonna go into the Indian indentured system, right? Because there's a people who are being paid to work. Well, they got your job. The oppressor hates you so much he doesn't even want you to have a job. If he's not making money off of you for free, he doesn't want you to have anything. Right? Let's just see if where we're at. Okay, we got it working. Right? So the Indian indenture system was a system of indentured servitude, which more than 1 million Indians, we read that already. Right, quick, right? Were transported for labor. Right. So let's get down to it. First indenture on 18 January 1826, the government of the French Indian Ocean Island Reunion laid down terms for introduction of Indian laborers to the colony. Each man was required to appear before a magistrate and to declare that he was going voluntarily. This agreement, known as Grimmett, and it outlined a period of 5 years labor in colonies, right? So the black, Hispanic, and Native American man, you were you were enslaved for hundreds of years. There was no agreement. There was no. Do the slavery for 5 years and we'll pay you, and then you get to go. You're free. It was, we're gonna work you until your bones break, until you're old and you're dead, until your bones is dust. Right? We're gonna purposely beat the Hebrew out of you. Right? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, before slavery, we spoke Hebrew. Right? Officer Shariwan, Friday nights at 7 p.m., he's teaching me Hebrew so you can learn your history. Right? So you can learn the language that was beat out of you. Right? The oppressors, they didn't want us to know who we were. They didn't want us to call upon the Lord to get us out. They didn't want us to start keeping the law, just like they don't want us to keep the law right now. So they promote everything that's bad for us, right? What was mm, okay? And it outlined a period of 5 years labor in the colonies with a pay of 8 rupees per month, about $4 in 1826, and rations. Right, so these people, they got rations and they got paid. Right, and now some people might be watching this and saying, "Well, they didn't get paid much." Well, who cares what they got paid? That's between them and the British. We're not East Indian, right? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans weren't getting paid anything. So you should care about your people first, right? Every time we care about another nation, we seem to forget our nation, right? It's like when we go to camp, we'll go to camp and there'll be some black, Hispanic, or Native American that they want to tell us that we're preaching against the oppressor and we shouldn't be doing that, that we should love the oppressor. And in telling us that, they're basically saying to us, you're not supposed to love your people, right? But nevertheless, they had a pay of 8 rupees per month, about $4 in 1826, and rations provided. Laborers had been transported from Pondicherry and Caracas. The first attempt at importing Indian labor into Mauritius in 1829 ended in failure. But by 1838, 25,000 Indian laborers had been shipped to Mauritius. The Indian indenture system was put in place initially at the behest of sugar planters in colonial territories, who hoped the system would provide reliable, cheap labor similar to the conditions of under slavery. Right? So they got their cheap labor, but these people still got paid. While blacks, Hispanics, you didn't get anything. Right? To a point where now we're gonna go through some tweets later. Right? I'm gonna read off some tweets that I found. It was over an election in Trinidad, right? But they didn't want us to get paid. They didn't want us to own anything. That's why the Caribbean looks the way it looks now, where blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, they don't really own the car companies. That everybody wants to drive a car in Jamaica. Jamaicans, meaning blacks, don't own the car company. It's some Chinese man, some white man, or some East Indian who owns a car company that these Jamaicans are buying cars from. Right? So we're just being devoured. We're literally just being eaten. Right? And this nation's not supposed to be above us. They're not supposed to be over us. Right? This nation believes that they can't Salakia. They believe in smoking drugs, growing dreads. They believe that the cow is a god. They can't wear like an East Indian team didn't make the World Cup qualification because they wanted to play barefoot. Because they said the cow is a god and the shoes that they had to play with was made out of leather. Right? That is not a people that you want over you. Right? The cow can't
Good
save you.
night, Salakia.
Right. God,
Salakia.
God, so it's that's the people that are over our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean.
So
Yeah,
like a priest, if I may add,
Khan,
if I
sir.
may add, don't they believe like every type of animal is a god like rats? I see they have a temple dedicated for rats where
Khan, sir.
they give rat milk and everything. I see I mean the monkey is a god too. You know what I mean? So god damn man. I said
Khan,
these
sir.
are the people these are the so like a priest, but these are the
Khan.
people who we want to associate ourselves with instead of coming back to the Bible, instead of focusing
Right.
on who we are and doing what we got to do. Instead of coming to class, we want to follow those people that believe that rats is a god, that monkeys are God, cows are God. Matter of fact, there was something that I posted back in the days on Facebook where they put
Right.
cow manure, cow dung, you understand, and put it in the wall in the house so the house could stay fresh. We
Salakia.
invented now AC. We invented AC. They have to put cow salakia, cow doodoo, cow shit, you understand, on their walls. Now I mean, so the house could stay fresh. We invented AC, man. But we want to associate ourselves with them instead of seeing the greatness of our people and of ourselves, man. That's sad, man. Salakia.
Right. Khan, sir.
Salakia.
Khan, sir. Khan, sir. Salakia, you got it.
Salakia said, and just to add, not just in their walls, I actually read something where they were actually using cow shit to cook with. It was a way that they would heat their
Right?
stoves.
Right.
Salakia.
Oh, man.
So like,
You
and
know
these
what?
are the people that we want. These are the people we want to love and we want to worship and we look at them like wow, the culture is so they have a vast culture. They have something. Well, you know why? Because you lost yours. You know why?
Right.
Because you don't know who you are. You know why? Because you rather follow anything else but coming back to who you really are, and that's found in the Bible, and that's found in the classes, just like tonight's class, just like now, I mean, what we're doing in the I.S.U.P.K Canada, man. That's where you find your real identity, your real culture. But you know what? You rather follow those people, you understand, that don't have no goddamn sense. You understand that you should teach, that you should bring light to, but you rather follow them
Right.
and see them as great. Why you are the one that's great, Black, Spanish, and Native Indian. Why you are the greatest on the planet, man. You understand?
Yeah,
So
I'm
like
right,
you.
sir. Nah, that's just heavy, man. Like they got that crappy AC. That crappy installation.
Right. I
Like
mean,
they're not putting Pink Panther in their walls. Salakia. Officer Shotgun knows what I'm talking about. You gotta put that Pink Panther in the wall and make the whole wall, the house heated. That's the installation. They got the cow manure, right? Cow manure is you're supposed to dry cow manure, turn it to manure, and use it to plant with, not to not to throw at each other, not to
right.
cook with. What the crap is going on? Right? But Khan said you are definitely right. They have a whole temple that's dedicated to rats, and they wonder why they're being dealt with right now. Why they're walking down the streets and just dropping.
Right. Right.
Right? Let's get some. Salakia, Officer Shariwan, Baba Kashar, can you get me Second Ezra 6 and 54?
Come.
While you get that, we'll go some more into this. Right? So the indentured system was put in place initially at the behest of sugar planters in colonial territories, who hoped the system would provide reliable, cheap labor similar to the conditions under slavery. The new system was expected to demonstrate the superiority of free over slave labor in the production of tropical products for imperial markets, right? What do we got? The East Indian Company regulations of 1833 laid down specific conditions for the dispatch of Indian labor from Calcutta, right? There would be there would be immigrant and his immigration agent were required to appear before an officer designated designated by the government of the British India with a written statement of the terms of the contract. The length of service was to be 5 years, renewable for further 5 year terms. The immigrant was to be returned at the end of his service to the port of departure. Each immigrant vessel was required to conform to the certain standards of space, diet, and to carry a medical officer. In 1837, this scheme was extended to Madras. Slovakia. One moment. Slovakia, right? So what we just read, that's messed up, right? So on a slave ship, we were chained together at the bottom. Man next to woman, we had to defecate in our state. Women had their menstruals on them, right? Like it was a terrible place. It was so bad that we were dying on those vessels because we were becoming sick from the blood and the piss and the shit, right? I just have to be bold so you understand, right? Like we didn't have spaces to get clean. There was no shower for us. And it took a while. So now imagine the stench, right? All the sweat, all the blood, the the bodily excrements that would come out of us, right? And we had to lay in it and stay in it. We were force fed because we were chained, right? We didn't get to choose what we were eating. We were force fed some of the nastiest, whatever they could find, right? Each immigrant vessel was required to conform to certain standards of space, right? This is for the East Indians. They had standards of space and diet, right? Meaning they had to have enough space so they could live, so they could like they didn't feel like cattle, like how we felt, right? They had a diet requirement as well, right? So they weren't fed some of the nasty foods that we were fed because they had a diet requirement because they had a people and a government behind them, right? And to carry a medical officer, right? That means they weren't dying on the ships like we were because they had a medical officer,
Right.
right? Um,
So like a so that's crazy. So you tell me that there are doctors on the ship for these coolies?
Con. So they had doctors. They had space requirements. Like back in the
Man,
day, our forefathers were chained by the neck and they were shoulder to shoulder laying down. They had space requirements, meaning the this coolie had to have a certain amount of space on that
right,
ship.
right,
You had to treat him like
and,
he was a human being. You couldn't treat him like he
right.
was a nigga, right?
And you know what that's like, but you know at the end of the day that we expect as a people. Now I mean, for those that's not in the truth in the I.S.U.P.K, we expect those other nations to understand what we're going through. While they
Right.
are doctors and shit, they are, now I mean they have space requirements. While we didn't have no space, it's like also Zabaja was putting that bringing it up. Now I mean, we if the woman had a menstrual cycle, she used to bleed right next to the brother or sister. If he has to go to the bathroom, right there next to the brother or sister, he has to. If I mean,
Right.
if you had, I mean, seasickness and everything, you have to vomit. You have to vomit right there next to your brother and sister, man. These people didn't go to that.
Con.
These people didn't suffer that. And you expect them to understand our lives today and march Black Lives Matter, and you think that's something serious? Why they can't understand and feel your pain? This is
Con,
one thing that we're gonna have to stop doing, man. It's thinking that me everybody now me could understand our pain, man. Not everybody could understand our pain because they don't walk in the same shoes that we walk in, man. You
right.
understand? We should understand each other pain. We should understand, I mean, each other are suffering. I should understand what my brothers in Toronto are suffering. They should understand what I'm suffering, man. We should understand what each other are suffering in the ghettos that we live in, not expecting for other nations and voting for other nations to understand our pain, man. You understand?
Con, sir. Like,
But hey, unfortunately, that's what it is. But the day is gonna come when we're gonna start realizing that, I mean, these are the nations that understand our pain. And
con.
they will never understand our pain until they suffer and go through the same thing that we went under, man.
That's so heavy, sir. Like they're definitely not gonna understand our pain, right? And
Right. Right.
it's like they don't care about us. And I'm gonna bring it out in a second. I'm gonna bring out some of the stuff. Unfortunately, it's from another YouTube video, so I'm not gonna play the other YouTube video. But I will read the tweets. You can just go research it for yourself. I'll drop the YouTube video in the chat as I'm reading the tweets and stuff, and you can see it for yourself. Because if I play the video, they'll just try to shut down our channel and stuff like that. And the haters out there, the devil that the Bible speaks of, they just want us to slip up so we can have our videos pulled and our channel shut down, right? But they don't care about us. And you are definitely right. They do not care about us. I'm gonna read a little more into this, and then we're gonna go into something else. Salakia, hold up 1 second. Officer Shariwan, you can read that second Ezra for me.
Khan. That's the book of Second Ezra, chapter 6 and verse 54. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creators. Salakia. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen.
Right. So what this is explaining is there was a time when Ezra he was going through the same oppression that we're going through now, and he asked the Lord basically, why are these people doing this to us, and why are they above us the way they are right now? And the Lord basically broke it down to him that we all come from Adam, right? And all the creatures of the Salakia, we all come from Adam, except for even the people that the Lord chosen, right? So he's letting the Lord's letting Ezra know there is a chosen people, and you are a part of that chosen people. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are chosen. You're not supposed to be a slave, right? Israel is not a homeborn slave. You're not supposed to have somebody who believes a like. There's a people that believe dinner is God. For me, I know dinner is dinner, man. Like dinner, I'm gonna slap that A1 barbecue sauce on it. I'm gonna hook up some mashed potatoes really quick, couple corns on the cob. I'm gonna call a brother and ask him if he ate. If he didn't eat, he can come eat with me.
Right.
That cow is not God, right? I'm gonna take that cow after I make steak. I'm gonna take that cow skin and I'm gonna make fringes and I'm gonna put it on my garment. And I'm gonna hook up a beautiful warlike garment, right? And I'm gonna wear it in front of my God. But there's a people that they know their God, and that's not who the Lord chose, right? Keep reading on.
Verse 55. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes.
Right. So the Lord made the world for Israel's sake, right? He didn't make it for somebody who believes the rat is God, right? That's what our Bible tells us. That's what our history book tells us. That the Lord made it for our sake, right? The olive oil that we pour on our head, the Lord made it for our sake. Everything nice about the world is made for our sake. The good strong that we drink, that it was made for our sake, right? The Lord didn't make it so we're supposed to be under them, right? And when the righteous are in power, the people will rejoice, right? And we're supposed to be empowered because, again, read that last part again.
Verse 55. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord,
Right,
because thou madest the world for our sakes.
right. The world was made for Israel. Go ahead.
Verse 56. As for the other people, which also
Right.
come of Adam.
There's go on. There's other people that come from Adam, right? They believe that a gold tall statue that is God, a fat gold statue is God, right? They believe that you're supposed to eat bats and snakes, and now we're in if you're in Ontario, they said it's round 3, right? Pretty soon you're gonna spin around and they're gonna say, damn, it hasn't stopped, it's round 20, right? Of the waves of COVID, right? The Lord, right? The other people that the Lord spoke of, right? That He didn't make it for them, like, right? He made it so they're supposed to be under our rulership, right? The other people that the Lord spoke of, they make these big flying machines and dump carbon directly into the atmosphere, right? Like they don't want to take a ship no more to go back and forth. You got to hop on that plane now, right? There's a people that they say green Salakia. They say that you're supposed to have the world using green energy, right? And instead, they build rocket ships so they can go to space because they want to see what's in the heavens, right? Again, if you're watching, like, subscribe, and share to this channel. Blackwatch will be coming on soon, right? It's Monday night. You know what happens at 9 o'clock? Blackwatch. Continue reading up.
Thou hast said that they are nothing,
Read.
but be like unto spittle.
Right. So the Lord said that the other people are nothing. They're not worth it. They're not worth anything. Right? They're nothing. That's not how the Lord doesn't see them as a people. He sees them as nations to be ruled over by the nation that He chose, right? And that nation comes directly from Adam to Abraham, Isaac to Jacob, right? That's the nation the Lord chose. Keep reading.
But be like unto spittle, and as liken the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
Right, right. So the Lord likens them as a drop of water from a bucket, right? He doesn't look at them like all the water that's in the bucket. He looks at them as you're walking with the bucket, a little splash splashes out. Who cares about it? You're not going to try and collect it and put it back in the bucket. And that's how the Lord looks at them, right? You might be talking, and sometimes when you talk, a little bit of spit might fly out your mouth. That's how the Lord looks at them, as nothing. It's something you just don't care about, right? Uh, where are we? Right. So let me get some more. I think I'm done with that screen share. Let me see if there's anything else. We'll read a little bit more of this. After the end of slavery, the West Indian Australian countries used emancipated slaves from families from Ireland, Germany, Malta, and the Portuguese from Madeira. All of these efforts failed to satisfy the labor needs of the colonies due to high morality of the new arrivals and their redundance to continue working at the end of their indenture. Right? On 16th November 1844, the British Indian government legalized immigration to Jamaica, Trinidad, Demerara, Guyana. The first ship Whitney sailed to the port of Calcutta for British Guyana on on January 13th, 1883. Slovakia, 1833, and arrived in Berbice on May 5th, 1838. Right? Transportation to the Caribbean stopped in 1848 due to problems in the sugar industry and resumed in Demerara and Trinidad in 1851 and in Jamaica in 1860. Right. So importing labor became viable for plantation owners because newly emancipated slaves refused to work for low wages. Right? So they freed the slaves and they wanted to pay them low wages, and the slaves knew that it was hard work. They knew that it was it like you already got us to work for free. Now pay us what we're supposed to be paid. Right? So I'm gonna end that right there. Right? Can you bring me to? We're gonna go a little longer. Baba Kashad, bear with me.
So like a priest, if I may add,
Khan.
all for everybody that's listening out there, all you got to do is go look animal temples in India, right?
Right.
And we could see, I mean, they worship animals. Which other civilization worship animals as well?
Right.
So like, yeah, any one of you could answer. Which other one? There's a great one. There's a major one that we attack all the time.
Salakia that worship animals.
Come,
Would that be the Moabites, sir?
Egypt.
So
Khan. Khan,
Egypt,
sir. Khan.
I mean, half man, half goat, half men have wolves, half men have bird, and so on.
Right.
Just like this damn Elamite, man. You understand? So when you think Egypt was so great, was so nice, was so I mean every wonderful. These them I mean these them cooling I mean worship animals as well. Understand? Egypt worship I mean the scarab. Scarab roll dung and everything. You understand?
Right.
That's their mission and they roll dung. They make I mean they turn the dung into balls and everything. And that's what they think they're worshiping. They think they're worshiping the sun. That's a ball of doodoo, man. You understand? That's what them Egyptians were worshiping, man. You understand? Just like them Elamites, East Indian, coolies. You understand? So when you think Egypt was great, well, are them coolies great? Are them East Indian great? You should think about that because they worship animals just like Egypt did. Egypt worship crocodile. They have I mean crocodile mummies in the museum. You understand? Showing that I mean the our Egyptians used to worship crocodiles and everything. Coolies do the same thing. They have temples dedicated to animals, man. All you got is go and look is for temples dedicated to animals in India, and you see temples for snake, temple for I mean elephants, temple for rats,
right,
temple for monkeys, temple for every I mean, and so on. The same thing with Egypt, man.
Right.
Understand? The same thing with goddamn Egypt with them Kemetic, I mean, catch that thing they know something. East Indian are doing the same thing today. They've been doing the same thing. So are they great? Are you gonna follow them? Understand? Well, anyway, when we tell you to come follow the real thing, the Bible, now we crazy. Now we look insane. While you worshiping
Right.
animals, while you worshiping a dead scarab that's rolling shit, and you think that's you worshiping the sun. It's a lot.
Khan said that's definitely heavy, right? All these nations, it seems like they just like to worship doodoo, and I'm like, I don't understand what's going on with that. Doodoo worshippers. But right.
Matter of fact, sidebar. The Egyptian used to put that I mean doodoo, I mean for I mean contraception, I mean in their woman. They used to put crocodile doodles mixed with honey and other herbs, so for the woman not to get pregnant. That's what they used
right.
to do. That's in the medical books. Go check out, man. I mean, in the medical books for, and I mean, for contraception and history of contraception. You're gonna see Egyptian used to be the first
Good,
putting
right.
mixed with other things, so they won't get stick. I mean, when that man stick is right inside of his female, you want to follow, man. These are the nations that you want to follow. These are the nations that you want to imitate, man. A nation that's gonna put
Right.
doodle inside of their females, inside of their women, and you follow that. You want to follow that. But when we tell you, you know what I mean, if you touch something unclean and wash yourself, now we crazy. When we tell you about not being a whore, not being a murderer, not being this, not being anything, you know what I mean, that will oppress our people or bring, I mean, devastation in our community, we crazy for that. But you want to worship them stinking Eden. Understand? Think about that, though.
Right. That's definitely something heavy to think about, sir. Like it's crazy because like these other nations, man, they devour us and they don't worship a living God. Like we know what we worship. We worship a living power, right? And what we're gonna get out of it, we're gonna get the kingdom. We're gonna get all these nations that had a hand in our slavery going into slavery, right?
Right.
That's what's going on. And for Nixon, just put the drugs down. Like I see you going in on the chat,
Just leave
but
that. No, so like a priest, don't even mention that fool. Let that fool be offended.
right. That's what I was saying, sir. Con, sir. But let's continue, sir. Go on, sir. Uh, can I get Ezekiel, Officer Shariwan? Can you get me Ezekiel 34:7, bro? Shot.
Come.
Right? Because following these nations, we become prey for them. Right? They devour everything we got. Right? We grow sugar cane in Jamaica and we don't get to own it. Right? We like you got to think about who owns the rum companies in Jamaica, right? Like we don't get to import. Like let's take it out of Jamaica for a second. The Venezuelans are our Zebulonite brothers. They have uh they have oil, an abundance of oil, right? They don't get to sell it. What happens is the devil that the Bible speaks of, our oppressor, he's bankrupting the company. He's bankrupting that nation. So now they have to try to travel into the Americas. They got to try to travel into Trinidad and travel somewhere else, right? Instead, they should be selling the oil that they have. There's billions of dollars of oil in Venezuela, right? Now, let me get Ezekiel 34:7.
Come. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 34 and verse 7. Therefore, ye shepherds, hear the word of the Lord. Verse 8. As I live, saith the Lord God, surely because my flock became a prey.
Right. So the shepherds, the Lord looks at us like we're sheep, right? We're supposed to just follow and not question his judgment and not question his statutes and commandments, right? But we become prey, right? We become prey to these other nations because we our shepherds aren't the Christian pastors, the so-called imams, the politicians who are supposed to be our shepherds, our watchmen. They're not leading us right. Read.
And my flock became meat to every beast of the field.
That's what these other nations are. They are the beasts of the field, right?
Right.
And we became meat to them. They devour everything. As I was saying, like the oil our brothers and sisters have, they don't get to sell it. Another nation is selling it. The sugar cane that we grow, we don't get to sell it and reap the benefits of it. Another nation does. Every car that Benjamin is driving around in the Caribbean, he doesn't own the car dealership. He might work there, right? But he doesn't own the car dealership, right? The British government, they should have restored Jamaica and the Caribbean islands after they left. But when they left, they didn't, right? The Caribbean islands wanted their emancipation. They gave it to them, but they gave them nothing. You're supposed to restore a man, right? But that's not what these governments did, right? And that's to let you know these men aren't righteous, right? The people who say they run the government, they're not righteous at all, right? They just want to rob and steal. And when they can't no more, they say, you know what? If I can't rob and steal from you, I'm just gonna go hire some indentured servants and pay them instead of paying you. That's right there, and you're the best man for the job. You know how to do the job, right? Was that the end of the verse?
La, sir.
You can continue.
Because there was no shepherd, neither did my shepherd search for my flock, but the shepherds fed themselves and fed not my flock.
Right, and that's speaking to the pastors that you see, right? And you could see it like that's speaking to the pastors. Like they didn't look for us when we were lost, right? They didn't try to feel us. They didn't try to feel us. They didn't try to free us at all. What they tried to do was they basically they basically decided that they're going to, instead of feeding us, they're gonna feed themselves, right? $5,000, $9,000 gator suits, right? Cadillacs, right? The lady who started Black Lives Matter, she amassed millions of dollars of property, right? And when you listen to celebrities who know about it, they say, "Oh well, what she did was wrong. She was supposed to." They're not saying she's wrong because she got the property. They're saying she's wrong because she wasn't supposed to have the properties in her name, right? Now that our shepherds are supposed to feed us. They're rich, they're blessed with money, they're supposed to feed us and take care of us. They're supposed to make sure we're not poor, right? Instead, our shepherds go and sell Caribbean land to the Chinese, right? They go and vote for and tell you to vote for every oppressor you could think of, right? We're gonna jump back to Deuteronomy right quick. Let's get Deuteronomy 29, Brother Bashar. Hold that. Let me see if I could get these other things played without, right? So, one second. I just want to share this for a quick second, right? I'm going to share this for a quick second so you can see it. Right, and you should be able to see this. All you have to do is just go type in on uh, on Google. All you have to do is type in Trinidadian presidents and leaders, and you're going to get a lineup of so-called leaders in Trinidad, right? And one, two, three, four, five, six. Six of them are all East Indian, right? You're not supposed to vote to put another nation above you,
Right.
right? Just look at that, right? These are the people that you're putting above you, and none of them care. None of them care at all, right? So hold up. We're gonna drop that for a second. We can drop that. You can see that these people don't care about you at all. These are the curses that we're going through. I got some more stuff for you. I want to see if this will work. Doing this. You can read the Deuteronomy, Brother Kashar.
Can I select it, sir, from verse 1?
No, I need 28 and Salaki. 28 and 33. No, 28 and 29, brother Prashant.
Come. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 29. And thou shalt grope at noondays, as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways.
Right. Hold that right there. Like we're gonna be searching and crying out, right? And just like the blind does, right? So that's what we're going to be doing, and it's one of those things where it's like you're not going to prosper in your ways. You're going to try and do everything that you think you're supposed to do, and it's not going to work out, right? Because you're not coming back to the Lord as the Lord wants you to. Read.
And thou shalt not be only Slakia, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee.
And no man shall save us. We're going to be oppressed and spoiled. And the only person that's going to be able to save us is our King, Yahawashi, right? That's the only way we're going to be saved. Because you can see it, no matter what we do, there's going to be some fool that's going to try and speak out against us, right? There's going to be some idiot that's going to think that these men are lying. There's going to be some oppressor that just wants us to be in slavery, right? In these countries, you can be anything you want to be, right? You can worship anything you want to worship. You could take up a pop bottle and say, "This is God," and they won't say nothing about it. As soon as you say you are a Israelite and you're only supposed to love blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, every dummy comes out the woodworks trying to tell you that you can't be that.
Right.
Right? Jump down to 33, Babu Shah.
Come. Verse 33. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up.
Right. So the Chinese are going to come to your land. The Edomites are going to come to your land. The East Indians are going to come and they're going to take all your substance. You're not going to be able to make any money. There was a video of a sister who went to a shop that a Moabite owned, right? And she dropped like Jamaica still has coin currency where it's like a lot of the heavy money might be coins, right? There's like a $50 coin, and it's you're not going to be able to buy a lot of things with a $50 coin, but you buy things. And what happened was the girl dropped one of the coins, right? She's trying to tell the lady I dropped the coin. The lady's trying to act like she's stealing, right? The lady slapped her, right? And no one did nothing about it, right? There was an artist who came and made the lady apologize, but words are not an apology. She should have got down on her knees and kissed the feet of that child, right? Like that's what happens. We're in our lands and we don't own nothing. Think about up north on the reservations. The reservations, right, for our Native American brothers, the Gadites, they don't get to own their own banking system. They make money, they can't invest money in themselves, right? Think of how much a difference it would be if they were allowed to own their own banking system. They would be able to control their future. But because they turned away from their Lord, they're not. That's not going to happen, right? You're going to have to serve your enemies and wants of all things. Was that the end of the verse?
Right.
You can keep reading.
Come. And thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always.
Right. So you're until you come
He
back
was
to the
saying,
Most High, you're gonna be oppressed and crushed, and everything you try is not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Black Wall Street is not gonna work. Seneca Village is not gonna work. Look at Eglinton right now. Look at Eglinton and Oakwood. They built an LRT and they said we're building an LRT because it's going to be good for the community. Every barber shop on Eglinton and Oakwood right now is closed. It's taped up. There's a plague going on and it's closed. You can't do anything, right? And you're just going to be crushed always.
So like a
Fine,
precept, I
fine,
had a
sir.
precept to ask to something that you were saying. You were saying, I mean, like when you we speak about these things, and here comes, I mean, the devil. Here comes exactly those people possessed with demons coming. I mean, trying to take the words away. For everybody that's watching out there, you understand? These what we're talking about now, I mean, is black unity, black Hispanic and Native
Right,
Indian unity, showing you exactly not to be like the other nation. We're showing you that to have your own identity, to have your own pedigree, to have your own self. Now, I mean self-esteem. But you know what? Here comes in the chat line. Nice. It's something sweet. Well, I'm gonna read you a verse. I'm watch it. Understand? Mark
come,
4,
sir.
verse 15. And these are there by the wayside. You are that's watching right now. You are by the wayside, right? You are on the sideline. You watching this class, right? Where the word is sown, but they have heard say coming immediately. You understand? Now you heard these words. You hear what Ustaz Abaja is saying. You hear what I.S.U.P.K is saying. Well, here comes, just like Ustaz Abaja was saying, here comes. I mean, when you bring out the truth, when you put in the truth in front of everybody, here comes Satan. Here comes exactly those people in the chat. Those people, now I mean, that has nothing to better to do. Those fans, understand? Those, I mean, demonically possessed people. You understand? Here comes Satan immediately and taketh away the word that was sown in their heart. These word that we
Right.
Right,
say is for your benefits, man. This word that we say is for your well-being, man. We saying that, man, back to the fold. Come back to the Most High. But you know what? You're gonna listen, I mean, to somebody on the chat line that can show you nothing. That can prove nothing. That's not doing a damn thing for our community, for our people. Matter of fact, that's not even doing a damn thing for his own family.
Right.
I
right,
mean, probably the people on the sideline. I mean, this is the demons. This is Satan. I mean, coming. I mean, to trying to take away the words that you're hearing right now. You don't see that in church. You see that in the UPK, and we used to that.
Right.
That's- We are used to that. This is nothing new to us, man. You understand? But to you out there that's watching, to you out there that's saying, let that be an example for you that the Bible is real. Let that be an example, now I mean, that this word is real. You understand? And what is written is happening today. You seeing it right now on the chat. You understand? But don't let
right,
that, now I mean, turn you away from what is right. Don't let that turn you away from the truth. Listen to that truth. Don't mind these people, now I mean, that's talking about. I mean, if it's not UPK, I mean, it's not the truth. Understand? So don't
Right.
mind these. Focus on what God wants. Understand? Don't mind Satan. Satan used these I mean minions. Satan used these pawns. You understand? Satan is using them. But what are you going to do? That's the question. Are you going to listen to what Officer Zabadis is saying? Are you going to listen to what Officer Sharawan is saying? Are you going to listen to the priests and prophets in the I.S.U.P.K? That's really about your well-being. That's really that really loves you and wants you to change and wants you to become something better than you were before. Are
Right.
you really going to listen to that? Or are you going to listen to those, the minion of Satan? It's up to you. It's a lot of
Damn right.
con, sir. That was too wild. That was definitely heavy. Right. Let's get back into these scripts for a quick second. First, Slocky, give Officer Adiyah a hand, man. That was definitely powerful. You want it, sir. Hey, let's give a shout out to Kapa Bana, Yahawada, the water for tuning in. Shalom, sis. Salakia, Officer, Shaywan, did you finish that verse? Khan, you did. Can you jump down to 39? We're going to run through a few more precepts. I know it's getting late, right? We did start late. Salakia for that. Just bear with us about another 20 minutes, and we'll be wrapping up.
Come, sir. Verse 39. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shalt neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worm shall eat them.
Right? And that this is the precept. This goes perfect with these precepts that we read earlier. These are the curses that we're going through. You're gonna do so much. You're gonna have your land. You're going to be planting the land and tilling the land and thinking that you're going to gain the resources, and you're not going to, right? You're going to crush grapes, and some oppressor is going to tell you, listen, I'm taking this wine to sell it across the seas, right? You want to work a proper wage? Well, listen, you got to take what I give you. Okay, you're not taking what I give you. I'm going to, just to be a devil, I'm going to go all the way across the world and go get some coolies, right? Some, what was it? Low wage servants. That's what coolie means, right? They're gonna get some coolies to make you feel like you're supposed to take this money, right? Here's another example, right? This doesn't have to do with the subject, but since we're on coolies, right? There are sisters that rap and make good music, right? Um, let's think of one. Off the top, Rap City, right? She's a sister that raps consciously, right? She's in the world. She's not in the truth, obviously. But she's not telling sisters to be whores, and she's not telling them about sexing for bags and doing all the stuff that a sister is not supposed to do, right? She gets no shine. She gets no light, right? But what they did was they took a coolie by the name of Nicki Minaj and they made her supposed to be the rap queen, like the queen of rap, right? That's obviously a worldly term, right? They made her to be the person that our daughters are supposed to look up to, and she's not even one of us. Her father's a coolie, East Indian, right from Trinidad. Her father comes from the indentured servants, right? They're gonna take chameleon hairs and post her up like she's supposed to be the first black vice president. Now, if another sister becomes vice president, with she really shouldn't, but if she does, she's not gonna get the recognition of being the first black sister that's a vice president, right? They're gonna make you believe that this other lady, she's one of you, but that lady doesn't give a damn about you, right? Bring me to what else? Let's get one more. Bring me to 43, right? And this is what happens when you don't stand up for the Lord. When you don't stand up for the Lord, when you don't keep His commandments, and when you want to be a rebellious child, what happens is you're basically gonna have another nation above you, right? And we're gonna show it to you right here. And blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, as we read this, you're gonna, in your heart, you're gonna know this is describing your life right now,
Right.
right? Now you can be like, oh, that's the white man's book, but you're gonna be like, damn, that did talk about what I go through every day. Damn, I did need last week off, but I had to ask my Edomite or Moabite boss, and they denied me. And I had to call in sick and not get paid for it, right? You can read it when you got it.
Come. Verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high.
Your brother,
The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high.
right? So this is letting you know the stranger is gonna get up above you, right? Not your brother, not someone that's kin to you, but the stranger, right, is gonna get up above you very high, and they're gonna make sure you stay low, right? As we're getting murdered in the streets, they're telling us to stop Asian hate, right? Well, damn right, stop the Asian hate that they have for the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? And you could just go on our channel and watch us speaking at camp, and you'll see the Asian hate that they have for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans.
Right,
Asians hate them,
right, right.
right? That they want us to be destroyed. They don't want us to be on top and back in our rightful place, right? So, Slovakia, I'm gonna read out a couple things. I wanted to play something. I'm not sure if it's gonna work, but let's see it. Let's see if I can play it right quick. Right, hold up. Let me get that screen share right quick. Hopefully this works. Bear with us. Right. So this is a Slovakia. This is a brother. He's kind of on the coonish side, right? He wants to love everybody, but he is going to play a voice note of some East Indian coolie talking to a brother in the Caribbean, right? And now you gotta listen to what she says. And she's gonna let you know exactly how they feel about us.
Hello? Hi. Let me tell you something, right? I paid my bill and I paid towards CTV. I paid towards a freaking nigga. Okay, why does I look for the Indian channel and put them stupid local shows in the Indian CTV? CTV is a freaking international show. That when I took my packages from the mobile and all the stuff, I paid to watch my Indian show. I paid to watch our stinking Rowley and his stinking freaking piano people. Okay, why does I have to put on them local thing in CTV? CTV is a freaking international show station. Why all didn't want to, if all didn't wanted to have Rowley and his stinking nigga people put it in local shows. Why did that is what I take for I take I that is why I take the package for towards the CCTV to watch my Indian show, not on nigga and Rowley and the nigga people. Why does all I have to cut the Indian show and put on them stupid local thing for? That's we customers paying for that, we have to pay to watch the Indian channel to watch Rowley and his stinking people. You hear me?
Right. So that's basically it. Right? So what she's complaining about is she got a cable package, right? And if you didn't hear it, I'm gonna put the link in the chat so you can hear it. But she got a cable package. So I'll get 1 second. I'm gonna put this link in the chat. She got a cable package, right? And it's supposed to give her international shows, right? And she got the package because she wanted to watch some shows about her coolie people throwing cow poop at each other, right? Now, she didn't get to watch that. There was no cow poop flown. She got mad. Why are you stinking niggas on my channel? Like, why can't they put that on the regular channel? Right? And she's letting you know how they feel about us. And now I get it. You might say it's just a one off. It's just a one off. Let's see. I don't think it's a one off, but I'm gonna put that in the chat right now. This is the link so you can go watch it on your own time.
The water, sir.
But some people think it's a one off. Salaki, you got something?
La, so Slack, I was just saying the water for the link.
Oh yeah, it's in there. No sweat. Um, 1 second. I gotta find the next one. Okay, I got it. This next one, right? Captain Mashak, Captain Karasha, and Officer Karasha, and Officer Dungabar, right? They have a show called On the Ends that's on the UK channel, I.S.U.P.K UK. They have a show called On the Ends Radio, and they brought this out a while back, right? I watched that show a lot. It's a show that's slept on, but it's wild, man. That show goes hard, and it's definitely something you could watch during your slavery. It's good entertainment, and yeah, it's like the UK version of Cross the Line Radio. But no one be really be calling it Cross the Line. They be getting cut up so much, right? So they brought this out a while back, right? So now there was an election, right? And the PNP, that's the People's National something, I don't know. It's an election in Trinidad, right? They the opposing group, which is like East Indian, they lost the election, right? Now a new person won the election, and the president now, if I'm not mistaken, is a Benjamite, right? So the daughter of a company, the company's called Ramsaran, right? They make juice boxes and snacks and stuff in the Caribbean. The daughter of this company, she was having a conversation on Facebook. And this is how the conversation went, right? So someone says, "Let us hardworking UNC supporters." That's the other party, the party that lost, right? These guys are sore losers. This is why you're not supposed to vote, right? You want to vote for a sure election. Vote for Christ. Vote for Yahweh, right? Let us hardworking UNC supporters continue to pay taxes and mind the loafers, right? So they're calling us loafers, right? Because
Yeah.
apparently we don't pay taxes. If you're black in the Caribbean, you don't pay taxes, right? That support the PNP. We really live in a bloody banana republic, right? Now this is the daughter of Salakia. That was the daughter of the CEO of the Ramsaran company, right? This is someone replies to her, another coolie replies to her. You see a win them when they making 12 children for the state to support, right? So apparently they're saying that Trinidadian, the Benjamites in Trinidad, they only make children so the state can support them, right? Well, you took all the jobs. You like the coolies took all our resources. How else are they supposed to support each other if you have their job, right? Who all gonna vote PNM like a dependency syndrome, right? So they're mad. If you vote opposite of what they want you to do, they're gonna act like you're just a piece of crap, right? When they're literally throwing pieces of crap at each other, right? They're using pieces of crap to literally use it to burn for their food, and they're using it as installation, right? This is her reply. I hope Rolly starts putting contraceptive in their water supply. Yes, because these cockroaches keep populating, and the only thing they know how to do is vote. Now, imagine a woman who comes from a country full of people. They have people damn near in the billions, and they bathe in dirty rivers, and they worship rats and throw mud pies, cow pies at each other, right? And dress themselves in the cow pie. Imagine her saying that we need to have contraceptives in our water so we can stop having babies because we're cockroaches, right? And the only thing we know how to do is vote. Now she's mad because we know how to vote, but we didn't vote for her. That is it's
Yeah.
such a terrible thing, right? These people don't love you. They're not supposed to be above you,
Yeah.
right? So now I'm gonna play another video, but I'm not gonna play it on the live stream. But I'm just gonna play it and read out some of the. In this video, they're gonna basically. This is after the election, and they're gonna basically read out some of the some of the tweets that the Coolie people were tweeting, right? The posts and the tweets that the Coolie people were posting and tweeting when they lost the election, right? This is Anjali Nalili Diban, right? And girl, this them black people self you will see line up for food card LOL. And they walking with raffle sheets to buy a laptop for their children. LOL. Laugh who laugh best. Right? That's just one of the tweets. There's more. Let me get the next one. Right? Then she tweets again. And when we call them F black, they want to vex. Dear Antonio Webb Bush, hush, black, nasty, ugly looking MC. That's Mother Stunt, right? And if you don't like what she posts, unfriend, BITCH. This is Facebook. She can post whatever she wants, and that's how they feel about us. It's
Yeah.
not done because I thought it was just a one-off. There's some more, right? Let me get to it. Right. One second. One second. Let me get to it. Right. Nadine Maharaj. Right. All of you stink niggas, mother, yeah, mother starving, dribbling, hungry poor asses. Why continue to rob we Indians and thief we vegetables? Go effing work. She said, "What? Go effing work for some money instead of robbing and killing we white class people." Right? And this is the people that you want above you. First off, no East Indian is white. She's calling herself white class. Right? And that's such a terrible thing. And like, this is to let you know you're only supposed to love blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. They hate you. They utterly hate you, right? This is why when as we were talking earlier, when we bring out the truth and what's going to fix blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, they don't want it at all because they know that as soon as we get fixed, that we're going to be above them, and they're going to have to work for us, right? They're not going to be able to steal. They're not going to be able to rape, rob, pillage, and murder. I'm going to drop that link in the post as well. This is the other video that I was just reading from. You can go and watch it yourself, right? Salakia, Officer Shariwan, can you start to drop the class links for the sign up, Baba Kasha? Right, we're
Okay.
almost done. Bear with us, Baba Kasha. The water for staying this long, the water for tuning in, right? One second, I'm gonna read something right quick. Let me get it. Right? So this is Daniel 9 and 11. Ye all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore, curses is poured upon us, and the and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against him. Right? These are the curses we're going through. Because those curses again are Deuteronomy 28 and 15. Those are the curses we're going through because we sinned against the Lord. Right? Like these nations above us, they're not supposed to be above us. Right? These nations are not supposed to be above us. Right? They're not supposed to be above us at all. And this is what's happening. And with them above us, we're just pushed to the bottom of the grinder. Right? Officer Shariwan, can you get me second Ezra 15 and 27? Right?
Okay.
And there's because our oppressors have been so devious to us, they've been such monsters to us and have destroyed us at every chance they have gotten. There's curses going for them as well. There's plagues, right? This is why the the nation of coolies right now, they're going through it, right? This is why they're just dropping. They're walking down and dropping, right? There's supposed to be a vaccine for this plague, and then a plague multiplies and it mutates. And now there's a mutation coming out of the land of the coolies, right? When you got Ezra, second Ezra's, you can drop it.
Come. This is the book of Second Ezra's, chapter 15 in the Apocrypha, and verse 27.
Come.
For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth,
Right.
and ye shall remain in them. For God shall not deliver you, because ye have sinned against him.
Right. So there are plagues going on in the whole earth right now. And because you've sinned against them, like these plagues aren't meant for us. Right? This is talking to the Israelites. Right? This plague is not meant for us. But because we sinned against them, they're not leaving us. Right? Now you see the nations being plagued and you still want to be like them? Right? Why? All you have to do is come home. There's a home for you. There's a sanctuary for you. Right? That's all. That's literally all you have to do. Let's jump to chapter 16, the next chapter, Baruch Shah, and go to 37.
Come. The second Ezra, chapter 16 and verse 37. Behold, the plagues draw nigh, and are not slack.
These plagues are let loose. They're not slack, and they're coming closer. They draw closer, right? And you don't want to get caught up in them. Like just like Revelation said, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people." Right? So you don't get caught up in their plagues. Right? You don't want to get caught up in these plagues. You keep going and thinking you're coolie and going like you're cooler than, and see if you don't get caught up. See if you're not in that hospital wheezing, right? And you just don't, just because it's there's other things that will plague you too. You don't have to get caught up in the coronavirus, right? To think that you're gonna get caught up. You can get caught up in a whole bunch of different things. The Lord, he's a war tactician. He knows how to get you. Read.
Verse 38. As when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, within 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb,
Right.
which
Read.
pains, when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment.
Right. Keep reading.
Verse 39. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side.
Right. So just like a woman going through childbirth, those contractions they come and they oh man, if you ever seen a sister going through it, she goes through it. And that's how these plagues will be. These plagues are gonna go through the earth, and right now the earth is going through it. Just the other day you seen the premier, the drug addict's brother, the crack smoking other brother. You seen him up there on the podium crying. He was crying about the plague in Ontario right now, and he doesn't know that. Well, listen, y'all got millions. Free up the people, then, right? You're supposed to acknowledge the crimes that you did to the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You're supposed to go onto the reservations and make sure the Gadite people are right. And you're supposed to pay them back for everything you stole. But because you don't, and because you're so prideful, you're gonna
Right.
keep acting like oh no, this protest is bad and we're still building a pipeline. Well, continue to cry on that podium, right? These plagues, they're not slack. They're gonna keep coming. It's this is not even the full thing. This is just a drop from one of the vows that the angels have. It's not easy. It's not even pouring out the full vow yet, right? So with that said, this is another history class. The water for tuning in, right? Again, go check out Commanding General Yohanna. Tomorrow will be the Brotherhood class from 5 to 7 on this same channel. Officer RDR, would you like to shout out your classes before I hand the class over to Officer Shariwan? Salakia, so you're on mute.
All right, to water priest now. I mean, you had a nice class now. I mean, give it
Con, sir.
up for him. Yeah. Y'all can hear me?
Con, sir, I can hear you. You were breaking up.
Come. We got classes in French. On a des classes en français, French every Monday. Just now, I mean, every Monday at 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. We have the series where we show the New Testament is for the Israelite. On a la série où ce qu'on montre que le Nouveau Testament est pour les Israélites à chaque lundi de 5h p.m. à 6h p.m. And also on Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. we have the law class in French. You understand? On I.S.U.P.K Quebec. You understand? Le mercredi de 6h à 8h, on a les classes de loi sur I.S.U.P.K Québec. So you could come and get that truth in French as well. You understand? We're taking over Canada anyway. You understand? And also we got classes in Creole. You understand? I mean, we have classes in Creole. We're still looking for a right time for me or Officer Yadazar, 5,000 Yadazar, I mean, to have the classes, set in a particular date, particular hour and day. So, contact us, if you want more information on that. All right? To what, priest?
Con, sir. I understand, sir. All right. I'm Officer 500. Again, with me, I had I'm Officer 500 Zabaja. With me, I had Officer 1000 Adiyar coming straight out of Montreal. I had with me Officer 50 Shariwan, the King of the North, Slovakia. I want to have a class over Officer 50 Shariwan. Clap it up.
I'm saying, Chris. These are the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K, start on 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. They need transportation. The teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18:21 and Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 to 10. Ma'ashiro means tenth in the Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give, please give. Upcoming holy convocations. We just closed out the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And the upcoming feast, I believe, is the Feast of First Fruits. Feast of First Fruits. That should be 50 days from now. If you want more information on that, if you're in Canada, contact Officer of 500 Zabadia or your camp leader. With that, we're going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers, a courtesy salute to the sisters, and then we'll close up. Men of Israel, Imajim, which means stand. We're going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Imajim Shabbat, Imajim, Barak, Yahba Shemi Ashai Barak, Yad Yamatah, which means hands down. We're going to give a courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Imajim Shabbat, Imajim, Barak, Yahweh Shamar, Alakuba Shemi Ashai, Yad Yamatah, class dismissed.